Issue 17. We start out the issue with Sonic being a show-off with his super speed by playing ping pong with himself. And unlike Sonic playing catch with himself while Tails just stands there, this time we actually have the other characters reacting realistically to his selfishness by being bored and Antoine complaining about it. It's nice that Knot Hole has a rec room. One rec room for the whole village though? And how is it a village when all we ever see in it are the freedom fighters? We see Eggman and Snively on an island with Eggman dressed up like a safari guy with Snively looking for a monster of Eggman's. So Eggman pulled a Frankenstein as a grad student and created a chore servant for himself earlier, which promptly turned against them. Well, it didn't kill him, so I guess it didn't turn against him and just ran off to do its own thing. No wonder you went to robot slaves. It is sweet that he calls the monster his son though, even if he had called him a chore servant earlier. First, Snively calls it a mindless bumbling brute, and then Eggman says it's a bot. So which is it? Climatic shifts, rising tides, and earthquake noises are apparently a sign of his robotic son being there. So it's actually a giant golden gorilla. So it's a robot after all? Why didn't it obey his orders in the first place? He gives it a giant pair of bananas to make it obey him, because apparently it's able to eat for some reason. And it cuts back to Sonic very quickly packing for a picnic, while Sally happily says that Eggman's been missing for weeks. And I guess I can assume that Eggman left some robots in charge of his base in Robotropolis while he was gone. So finally the plot gets exciting as a giant golden gorilla sent after Sonic. And Sally has an idiot moment where she kicks the metal gorilla and somehow doesn't injure her foot. Somehow the gorilla looks sad and hurt at being attacked instead of going into a rage, and pulls another confusing 180 by falling in love with Sally and carrying her off in a ripoff of King Kong. Because it totally makes sense that a robot gorilla monster can fall in love with an underage squirrel girl. Or even fall in love at all. Why would Eggman program him this way? What a glitchy robot. It is sweet that Sally actually appreciates how the gorilla climbed up the tower to show her the sunset. I wouldn't expect that of her. She then lies that she already has a boyfriend. Which is also dumb, as it could have made it fly into a rage if it understood what she was saying. Sonic distracts the gorilla while Tails flies up to save Sally. So that's good, Tails is allowed to do something. And then Sonic on a biplane shoots the gorilla with a bunch of green goo, causing the gorilla to fall to the ground below. And Eggman cries about it while saying the terrible line that he could have been a contender. Something that ruins the immersion of the scene. Why would he say this? At least it ends with Sally hugging Sonic as a thank you for saving her, to show actual gratitude. In the next story, Sally wonders if Sonic likes her back, and reminisces about her childhood, showing you a heartwarming montage of her normal childhood as the princess. Wait, she knew Sonic before Robotnik took over the world? Why the hell is it that she didn't know Sonic already in the first issue of the Sonic miniseries then? According to that, Sally first met Sonic after Uncle Chuck had been roboticized. Sonic even failed to recognize her as the princess, remember? And she was a blonde? So does this mean that specific part of the first ever issue of the comic is not canon now? I guess so. It just seems like a really weird retcon, made to artificially make the shipping between the two seem more believable and strengthen their bond because of childhood friends. Because it makes no sense that a princess would just be allowed to have a random commoner as a best friend growing up, in a kingdom that still has absolute monarchy. It makes a lot more sense that she only became friends with Sonic because Eggman took over and her king father wasn't able to say no to her. Sally wishes she could see her father again, showing sadness and humanity to her that makes her character more sympathetic. Seriously, have we ever seen her have sad moments of self-reflection like this before? Well, not self-reflection since she's not thinking about her own flaws and stuff, but still. She's taken from her thoughts by a crashing meteor, and later, she and the freedom fighters find a glowing white orb thanks to Rotor's metal detector, and wonder what it could be. Sally, for some reason, thinks immediately that it could be the answer to all of her wishes. I guess she's genre savvy enough to know that she's in a magic-filled fantasy universe where white meteorites that follow the sky can grant wishes. How did the orb choose exactly whose wish exactly to grant, and which wish was worth granting? What if it granted the wish of Eggman? The whole wishing on a shooting star concept doesn't really make any sense when you think about it. There's too many people on the planet for it to logistically work. And then the issue just ends, pulling off the comic's first ever cliffhanger. The issue was written by Mike Kantarovic and Ken Penders, and I actually really liked it, aside from a few uncharacteristically boneheaded mistakes from Sally here and there. What was she thinking, kicking a giant robot gorilla? Did she really think that would have any kind of effect? I'm okay with her making mistakes, but she's supposed to be smarter than that. And again, I refuse to believe that wouldn't have hurt her foot. And mentioning that she has a boyfriend to the robot gorilla who fell in love with her somehow, at least to explain the whole premise of the story, was also a stupid move that could have gotten the robot back to trying to kill Sonic. So, yeah. That was illogical, but overall I was very engaged in the story. I found it interesting how we see a little glimpse in Eggman's past with him having made the robots a grad student. Even if he was just doing the same things he does now, it so tells us nothing about his actual backstory. He could have made the gorilla in the present day and the story really wouldn't have changed. Although at least it gives us this. It gives us Eggman having to find it on an island with Snively. It was a very interesting change of pace from his always doing the same thing, staying in his base sending robots against Sonic. Sure, he's technically doing the same thing here, trying to send a robot against Sonic, but at least he's on an island safari this time. I think having a King Kong parody is out of place. The robot falling in love with Sally was creepy, but I like the story as a whole well enough. I knew that not every Penders issue was awful. This one was pretty nice, and so was the second. There's really nothing to say about the second story though, it's too short and nothing really happens. It's just nice to see Sally show some more humanity and develop her backstory a little more. Even though it is weird that apparently we're supposed to pretend Sonic and her were childhood friends now. So I'm starting to understand her character more by this point. So she's like a delicate balance between the fiery tsundere who gets all worked up over looking weak, and the brilliant tactician who's smart and responsible, calm, and like logical. It's a balance between that, because you can't have her fiery tsundere side get too out of hand, or she'll start making boneheaded decisions, or lash out at her friends like a bitch. You have to keep a heart for her. Like, that's what makes her so sympathetic here. But you also have to make sure that she's smart, but you also have to keep her tsundere side to her, because that's what gives her her edge. That's what makes her more interesting and flawed. That she can make rational decisions, because she really doesn't want to look weak and stuff. So that's an interesting character.